Before going any further, let me first make clear that the reason why you create groups is not only about authentication. There may be many other reasons. So suppose you have your controller and then you have FlexConnect access points. What is clear is that maybe some of these access points will be in some branches and some others will be in some other branches, and they all connect to the same central controller in the headquarters. So that makes that if you're locally switching SSID A, on some of these access points in one branch, you may want to send these people to the local VLAN, which is VLAN 10, while the same users on the other branch, when they are in the branch 2, will need for the same SSID to be sent to the local VLAN, which is VLAN 20. So that is something that your APs need to know, and because they all connect to the same controller where their configuration is done, that means that you need to tell at the controller level that the SSID to VLAN mapping is going to be different. Okay, you've seen in the previous lesson that you could do an override on the per access point basis. That's nice if you have 2 APs. If you have 500 APs, that just doesn't scale anymore. You need to be able to group APs together. So that's one case. Also, authentication is another case. If you have 2 branches and you want to use local authentication, the reason why you do local authentication is probably because you're not using the central radius. So you probably want to send clients in branch 1 to one radius 1, while clients in branch 2 are going to use another local radius to branch 2, radius 2. So here again, you need to tell somewhere on the controller that when you go through those APs in branch 1, you should use this radius. And when you use those APs in branch 2, you should use that other radius. And if you remember, at the SSID level, you can call radiuses, but there is no way to distinguish which APs you're talking about. It's global to the SSID. So we need again a way to group access points there. There is a third thing that is very important for you to know if you configure those things and manage networks. It's the PMK. When you have a PMK because you have .1x or a preset key that is set locally, what is going to happen when you configure groups is that the controller is going to send that PMK to all the other access points in the same group. That is super important for you if you do fast roaming, because that means that when you create groups, you create an area of access points that have the PMK for all the clients of the APs in the same area. So roaming between APs in the same area can be fast. But if APs are in the same neighborhood but in different flex group, they are not going to share the PMK. So you isolate groups of access points between which fast roaming is not going to work. The trick here that you need to remember is that the PMK is going to be sent to the APs in the group by the controller. So that means that as long as the APs are in connected mode when the client associates, that AP, regardless of if the authentication is local or through the controller, that AP is going to tell the controller about the PMK. The controller may have it already because you're using central authentication, but even if it's local, the AP is going to tell the controller. And then the controller is going to send that PMK, a copy of that PMK, to all the other APs in the same flex group. That has consequences. That means that if your APs are all connected to the controller and you roam between the APs in the same flex group, roaming can be very fast because the key is cached. This is called opportunistic key caching. But if you authenticate and the APs are all connected, keys being distributed, and then the APs lose connectivity to the controller, they already have your PMK, which means that fast roaming still works. However, if you have one AP in the group that is not connected to the controller, by the time you associate to the first AP, well, that AP being not connected is not going to receive your PMK, and therefore fast roaming will not work to that AP. So the trick here for you to remember is that the PMK is sent by the controller. So as long as at the time you associate, the APs are connected to the controller, they will get your PMK. They may be disconnected after that, doesn't matter, they already have it. But if at the time you associate, the APs are not connected to the controller, they will not get the PMK, and therefore fast roaming will not work. That is something which is a survival knowledge for you to survive any buzz or question about PMK and fast roaming in FlexConnect groups. So these are the reasons why you may want to create groups: for authentication, for VLAN assignment, and also for fast roaming between access points. A last word on these access points. Depending on the platform, there will be a possibility to create more or less groups of access points, flex groups. And in each flex group, you can have more or less access points. So those are numbers you may want to remember because they are numbers you're supposed to know. They are max numbers of groups and APs per group that you can create on controller code 8.0. Those again may be useful for buzzer questions about max values.